No.
I know it is until I hit it.
Oh.
Okay.
There you go.
Good night,
So,
probably.
hi. Yes, I'm going to hit this to a full beginning. So we'll have that. And I need. So I'm Jeana Locke, and this is the soul container. And tonight we're going to do trusting your divine intervention, inspirations. And it is all about what we can do to trust when we're inspired, when it's ours, and what we're to do with it. So the first part about this whole thing that we're going to do tonight is, is to talk about and look at, see where you are, and to say, do you know when you're inspired, and are you aware that you're a vessel for being inspired, and that for ideas to come through, and are you aware that everything that comes through you is not for you? It may be for someone else, and especially if you're a manifesting generator, you may have so many ideas come through, and many of those ideas won't be for you at all. They're going to be for someone totally different. And but keeping them and recognizing when they're for you and when they're for someone else. And the third thing we're going to look at is, what are you aware of to do when inspiration shows up? Are you aware of what to do? Do you value it? Do you trust for divine timing to get there? So when you have it, do you let divine timing come through and let that occur? So the next one, the heart, is, do you trust waiting for the signs to know which ideas are yours to manifest? So can you distinguish whether or not it's a green light? I'm supposed to go do this. I'm supposed to do it now. Or it's a yellow light. Slow down, take a step back, be careful. A red light, just completely stop, which means it's either not yours at all and you're to share this with someone else, or it's something you're not supposed to do at this time. It may be an inspiration. It may be something that's going to it's going to rise. It's going to come slowly to the top at this moment. So there's different ways to look at those things. And then the last part is, do I manage the pressure I feel to manifest versus trying to prove myself with these ideas? So I get this great idea, and then I have to prove I can go do it. And I think we've all done that a few times in our lives, that we get these great ideas, we think everybody will want them, and then they sort of fall flat. And it's the pressure to manifest right now versus being able to stop and say, is that for right now or not? And the last one is, do you feel pressure to force it to be implemented now, the immediate gratification? And that's what I call sort of efforting. It's the efforting part. Do you have to effort everything when you do it? So that's what we're going to look at tonight, and to see what it is that you might be able to do to get a better understanding. We're going to do releases around them to see what we need to release so you can let go of the parts of it that are not helpful, and we're going to activate the next section of it. So when we do part 2, we're going to activate trusting the universe, that you are in tune with its a divine inspiration and those lights, the green light to go, the yellow light to slow down, the red light to stop. And with the whole purpose of these sessions are to move you out of survival and into thriving, and to provide transformational experiences for yourself as those that you energetically touch each day. So I did want to mention, for anyone who's here, that we have a pilot program for a new program that's coming up. It's called Align and Elevate Intensive. It is all about activating and releasing, recalibrating your energy field in 50 plus areas. And it's going to be done where there's a 90 minutes first session, probably 2 hours will be allowed for it. It'll be 90 minutes to 2 hours, and that'll go through and clear all of these different 50 areas in your energy field, from all the different things that people who've worked with me one-on-one get a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this and that. We're going to go through every single area, go through all of them, get them realigned back up, and then for the next 40 days, every 3 days a week, I will be going through and I will be cleaning up that energy in those fields for 40 days. So for 40 days, you'll have it cleaned up initially, and then totally cleaned up for the next 40 days. So the regular price on this is going to be $850. It's pretty intensive for me to do. And the pilot, for anybody who wants to do it, is $500. There are 5 spots left. There is limited to 10 people at a time, and that's what it is. So reserve your spot, or if you know somebody who might enjoy this or like it or want to get in on the pilot, it will never, ever, ever be this economical again. The 850 is where I was guided to start. And of quite honestly, for 40 days of doing energy work 3 days a week on each person, that's pretty intensive. So it'll be a good time to get this if you'd like to try it. And it's on the website, and that's where that part will be. Let you know about that. And see if I can get this over here to like close that out. I'm trying to, my slides not moving. See if I get it to move. The other thing is, if you are not aligned on if you're not an annual member, is that please ensure that you try that, check it out, see if you want to become an annual member, and that'll have you be an automatic part of the Big Vision. The gang stuff will start showing up this week in your emails, and the site which will have it on it, will start doing the questions and answers in that section of it, and right at the first few days of January, and start working on it from that point. So contact me if you want to do this, or if you want to upgrade to a next level on that. Now I am going to stop my share and do the session. So our first section we're going to do is, I'm going to come in here, is to release blocks, trapped emotions, and balances, and all aspects which need to be healed and brought into your awareness, that's stopping you from trusting your divine inspiration and feeling pressure to try to force these things into form. They did go through, and anyone who's on this call, please be aware, if you're driving or you're listening to it while driving, please do not do that. Wait until you're sitting and you're not doing anything that is of an intensive nature. It's best to do that, to do this in a place where you can sit and get relaxed. So please do that, and that is an important thing to do. They have not given me all of the releases for tonight, which is sort of unusual. So they usually give them to me in the afternoon, and they only give me part of them. But so far, they've started with that. As we've done that, we used body code, emotion code, limiting beliefs. I did some human design is in it. My great vibes transformation, which is my personal and vibrational thing, and it's my modality, and that one is in there. So the first emotion that we're going to release is to have too much fantasy. Is that there's this fantasy around everything in it, is that there's a fantasy and there's not any solid reality. So it's all totally just energetically out there, but there's no connected to being grounded. So we're going to ask that you release too much fantasy, which is all dreamland. And you've met people who are all dreamers, and there's no reality to them, and there's no stability to their core. We are a human body, and we are having a cosmic experience. And in the process of that, fantasy is helpful. Fantasy is good, but too much fantasy is not helpful. So what they would like us to do is to release too much fantasy. Oh my gosh, what a burp. When I burp, that means there was a big release. The next one is to deny and be angry, and have that anger projected in the world. Is that we are just angry. We're angry about it. Here's what we wanted. Here's what we wanted to do. We have been trying to have inspiration, and we haven't had the inspiration, and we're just pissed off. We're angry, we're mad, and we are using that anger is like preventing us from using our energy effectively. Please note, anger is not totally bad. Anger is not a bad thing to have, but too much anger and it being totally going towards something isn't going to be helpful to your energy. When anger pushes you forward, to have you move, to have you start doing something, to have you feel a projection towards it, to help you do it in a positive way, anger is helpful. So you want a balance of not too much anger and not too little anger. People have too little anger, just let the world pass them by. But we want enough to be able in there. So we want to let go of this portion of it that's at that, if there was a scale of 0 to 10, and 5's just enough, that keeps you moving forward so you deal with the things you should deal with. And then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and when you're at a 10 or a 9 or an 8, we want to release that anger and let it go, because that anger is not helpful for us. And it keeps us projecting into our anger towards others instead of actually stopping and allowing this divine inspiration to come through. So we're releasing anger. The next one was really upsetting to me. And I think that the older one gets, or when one hits a milestone in life, that was a milestone year for you of some sort, whatever that may be. There was like, this was the year everything was supposed to have happened. This one is a big thing, and we need to release lost dreams. And those are those things that we really, really wanted, and they didn't happen yet. We don't understand why they haven't happened. It was the soulmate that hasn't come through. It was the finances that haven't happened. It was the children you wanted to have that you didn't have. It was the getting out and into independence that you needed, that interdependence, independence versus dependence. It was having that job that was satisfying. It's the lost dreams. And every one of us has felt that. And every one of us in this whole group has understood the feeling of having a dream, and it's just lost to us now. What we want to do is let go of the feeling of a lost dream and recognize that we need to release the lost dreams part, and we're going to come back and allow new dreams that are refreshed and renewed to come in when we do our activation. So we're releasing the whole thing that all dreams are lost and the feeling that we can't ever get it. The next thing we're going to release on this, on the what we need to do to get those divine inspirations, is this escape, have the behaviors that are into go into it to go escapisms, so to speak. People who constantly do things to escape living in our timeline that we're in, or in our experience that we're in, our human body we're in right now. And they don't even want to stop and recognize it. So they do things that they're constantly not ever allowing themselves to stay grounded. And it's that escapism, and they have behaviors that it's the people who spend 24 hours a day checking their phone because that's all they can do. It's the person who goes and exercises excessively and never gives themselves a time to be in a downtime. It's any kind of escapism behavior. It could be misuse of alcohol, misuse of drugs, misuse of anything that's excessive to a point where it hinders you. So those escapism behaviors that are preventing us from stopping and allowing ourselves to slow down long enough to allow those divine inspirations to come in. So we're going to release escapism behaviors. The next one is guilt. They want us to release guilt. They want us to release guilt about lost time, lost dreams. They want us to release guilt around all the things that we've done, guilt around a decision we made that we feel like has held us back. We made this decision and we did it with the total and truest of intentions. And yet we had something come up, and now we can look back at that decision and go, I should have seen red flags. And we have guilt around the decision that we made. So we're going to release all these guilts that are around events, things we decided about, or people we decided to be around, or things we decided to do, the job we decided to quit, the job we decided to take, the person we decided to spend our life with, the person that we didn't choose to spend our life with, the time that we turned down something that we wish now we had done, the times we did something wish we had not done. That's the guilt. We just need to release all of it. And they're asking me to use a pendulum on this one because it's a little bit bigger, because all of us have it. I think that has a lot to do with guilt around not having boundaries. Guilt around the words we didn't tell somebody and they're no longer here, so we can't say them now. The guilt around the words we did say and we wish we hadn't bothered to say them, of not getting it just perfect. Thank you. The next one is releasing the repression of not being enough, the repression of every component of us that we feel we repress back when ideas come and we push them away because it doesn't make sense. It's like the guidance that comes through is like, you want me to do what? You want me to do that when? You want me to do that how? And it's the repression, the pushback. We have go into repressive states where we don't even want to hear it. We don't want to see it. And we don't want to deal with it. I think you can look back upon your life and see different times when you have repressed and you pushed back, and then there's times when you've embraced. So we're going to embrace on our activation. I need to write that one down because it just told it to me. The next one is going to sound pretty interesting to all of us. All of us who've worked in the energy field, especially if you've worked with me, you know, I talk a lot about the emotional body, the mental body, the physical body, and the spiritual bodies. And all of those are what we are composed of. We have all of those in us. We have we have in there all of those things about us, the components of us that make all of us, that physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. We have an inner child and we have the ego, but those other portions are a major portion of us. But what we're going to release today is being unbalanced on mental, which is we go so much into mental part. We go so much into the left brain part of us, the mental. And so much letting ego judge that we can't let the creative side of us show up so that the inspirations can come through. Divine inspirations have a hard time coming through unless you try a different way to allow them to come through. So into the creative part and knowing what brings you be creative, knowing and understanding what makes you unique about being creative. And they want me to do something on that. The next one is we need to release the powerlessness that we don't have any control over this. Every one of us who have actually gone into Akashic records, or we've been talking with our higher self, we've worked on any of these things. Each of us who've done that, each of us. As we have learned how to know and have an understanding and to know that we have intentionally set into those records and we understand it. We read for someone else, or we go through and let that flow through us for them. We actually know that we have the power to be able to understand it, but we feel powerless when it comes to ourselves. We feel powerless for helping someone else at times. The powerlessness of it, we need to let go of that, because if we don't let go of the fact that we're powerless, we're never going to regain our power. We're never going to regain it as an individual and as a group. So even pick your groups that where you want to gain power. So if you want to have a powerful group, pick that group and say, help build each of those people up so they can embrace their power. But today we're going to release powerlessness that I don't have any control over when I get an inspired idea. Our guides, our creator, they're constantly communicating with us with inspired ideas. We don't know how to hear it. We don't know how to sense it. We don't know how to see it. We don't know how to feel it. And sometimes we get it and we push it back and we reject it. So it's our power. We feel powerless about it and we don't know what to do with it when we get it. So if someone brings into a kitchen and they bring in 10 things that are ingredients, and I don't watch a lot of I don't watch a lot of TV, but if you have a kitchen show and they hand you these ingredients and they say, make something from this. Some people are so creative and they come up with these delicious recipes with these 10 items that are extraordinary and they taste fabulous. And the other person comes up and is like, I just couldn't figure out what to do. And I had to use all 10 items. And what am I going to do with it? And that's the difference of being powerless with it versus creative, and allowing yourself to think outside the box and removing the box and saying there is infinite possibilities. So we're releasing powerlessness. The next one is confusion. Confusion around when you are inspired. Sometimes you are inspired to rest. Sometimes you are inspired to sleep. Sometimes you are inspired to go do something. Sometimes you are inspired about it. But there's a knowing in you and being able to understand, is this me pushing this away and rejecting it because I'm fearful of it? Or is this something I'm really supposed to do? Every person in this group that is on this call tonight has texted me at one time or another about something that's happened. And I would almost expect that probably every person here has gotten an email back when I go into the records and ask, what is going on? It's like they're supposed to rest. Could you just sleep tonight? Could you just rest tonight? Would you just do this tonight? And then tomorrow, you're going to have an understanding and a knowing. Or tomorrow, we're going to be able to stop and go from this angle. And it's amazing what the whole thing, the confusion is that sometimes we can't hear that for ourselves. So reaching out and having that partner, we're going to release that we are confused and start saying, tell me differently. communicate to me in a different way so I understand thoroughly. And then start asking, am I supposed to do this? And get your yes or no. Am I supposed to do this or that? And if you don't get a yes on any of it, am I supposed to do this? Yes or no? Am I supposed to do B? Yes or no? Am I supposed to do C? Yes or no? And then just let it guide you to see what it is. But recognizing it's not confusion on your part, it's that you're not understanding communication that's coming through. It's that today, my thermometer on the wall, I pushed a button. I have a little thing that connects to do all that. And it has on there it has the Celsius versus the Fahrenheit. And I accidentally pushed the wrong button. Now I live in Fahrenheit land. So when it says it's 32 degrees, it's freezing outside. 32 degrees is right at freezing here. And for Celsius, that's 0. But I have no idea what 4 degrees Celsius means in my terms when it comes on. So I sit there and I looked at it, tried to push my button back. It didn't go. I had to take the batteries out and restart the whole little thing. And this morning, it was so frustrating. I was trying to figure out how cold is it in it wasn't that cold in my house, but it was outside. And inside, I was trying to figure out what temperature is it in here. And I had put it to Celsius, and it's just because I don't communicate well with Celsius. So, and I did. I got super frustrated. I ended up taking the batteries out. I put the batteries back in. I put the batteries out. I put the batteries back in. I finally set it down and said, I'm just going to leave it. If it's broken, it's under warranty, and I will get it fixed later. I'm sure I'll figure out a temperature, and I just moved the thermometer till I felt comfortable instead of seeing a number. Because my communication skills were not good with the Celsius, but they're pretty good with the Fahrenheit. So my whole part on was the confusion around knowing. I was confused, and I was confused around knowing, and I got frustrated. And we all need to release that and to stop and say, I just didn't understand the language. And being able to ask to speak it differently, show me differently, tell me differently. Yes, thank you. The next one that they want us to do is self-doubt. Self-doubt that I get inspired inspirations. Boy, have I had this one. It's like I can do readings for people and I can get all their inspirations coming through and they just flow through and they come out of my mouth and it's like, oh my gosh, their guides tell them so much. I think it is so cool to get to hear how their guides give them inspired inspiration and do those things. But I don't get them for myself as much. And my self-doubt was, do they give me that or do they not? And sometimes I'll get super inspired about something and then it's like, am I supposed to do it or am I not supposed to do it? So we want to release the self-doubt. And then we want to be able to activate that we know when we're being inspired. And we start asking better questions. And we start checking those with very simple questions. Was this a divine inspiration that just came through? And if it was, you're going to get your yes. If it wasn't, then you're going to know that that was either, you can say, was that ego trying to get me to do something? And that's a really good way to ask it, is to say, was that an inspired inspiration? It's sometimes you pick up the phone and it's like, if you feel this gut instinct inside of you, oh, I should do this, oh, I should do it, then trying to get that inspired inspiration is a really good way of being able to do it. So I just want to let you stop and look at that you can do it. And we're going to stop and ask you to work on the right questions. If you want a session that's just on questions, we can do, instead of doing releases, we can do a mini thing on releasing what prevents you from asking the right questions, which is basically getting to the very simple part. But this part of that is pretty important for releasing what's confusing to you. Those are what they've given me so far. Let me see what they give us now. Is it in limiting beliefs or 1,000 beliefs? No. Is it in, it's an emotion code. B, A, odd, even. It's A, even is A2, A4, 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 1, 2, 3, A4, 3. Guilt. We release guilt. They want something else on guilt. So Feeling of done something wrong. No. Committed an offense. No. Responsible for harmful actions of another. No. It is often accompanied by depression. Yes. So actually, this is about going into a depression when you're not getting the inspirations. And a lot of us will find that we think other people get them, but we do not. Some people are better at vocalizing when they do it. We would like to clear around your throat chakras. So on your throat chakra, if you'll take either hand, right or left, I don't care. I'd like you to go in a counterclockwise around your throat. It's going to release any low vibe and any emotions that are holding in your throat that are preventing you from speaking your truth, preventing you from asking the right questions. It's still releasing. I can feel it, and it hurts on mine really bad. Mine's hurting on the left side, but I think it's hurting for everybody in this group, and it feels like it's about to close down. It's still clearing. Okay. Now we're going to go in a clockwise position. So I'm going to go clockwise around the throat and activate the throat to be able to speak, to be able to write the story that you want to write, to speak the story and to let it flow through you, to let it come through you. What we just did, you can do those in each of your chakras. You can either start at your root and do the left as a releasing until you get a yes. If you're standing, it's easy to do standing until you get your yes that you've got it completed, and then go clockwise to activate until you get a yes that it's activated. Then go up to your sacral and do the same thing, then your solar plexus, then your heart, then your throat, then your third eye, and then your head. If you have a headache before you start at your head and go down. If you don't have a headache starting up, we'll send that energy back out and ask God to transmute that. Yes, right, left. 6, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Longing. Oh, that's a big one. We are longing for inspiration. This is me. This one was just for me, probably everybody in the group. But the longing, the wanting, that I want this now. I want it right now. The immediate gratification of it. I want this now. I need it now. And the thing on it is they're sending it. Be totally aware it's being sent. I do not understand the communications at this point. It's not that it's not being sent. It's that I haven't got the communication system down. I need to ask how to communicate it differently, or for them to show me differently, or to ask me who to connect with, and so that person can have it flow through them to connect it differently. It's not the guides not sending it. It's me not grasping the communication system that's being used. And it may be me not be open to the fact that I'm supposed to either have a stop. That means it's not a go right now. You're supposed to be stopping. You're supposed to be resting. Or it may be when you're supposed to go, you're supposed to proceed to move forward. Right now, there's this huge push in me that I had this big push today, and probably it started on Sunday, that there is a gigantic push within me that I'm supposed to be doing some, they're calling it almost like some really true forward movements. And it's like, and so my deal was on what, which thing that you've inspired me to do. And I went through and muscle tested out this list. So make a list, put your list in a sheet and write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of things that you feel you've been inspired, and then muscle test. Is this, and you can ask, is it green for go? Is it yellow for slow down? Is it red for stop? Stop doesn't mean forever. It may just mean for right now. So I'd like you to stop and look at when you're supposed to do it, and then muscle test, is this a right now thing? And then proceed from there. And sometimes, especially when you're collaborating with another, it may be that they're supposed to do something right now and you're supposed to do this, or maybe you're doing it together, and ask that question. Like, is this something I am to encourage them to do? Is this something that I'm to pull back from and give them a space to do? Well, ask those kinds of questions, asking, what am I supposed to do for another, when you can feel in it, you will get an inspirational download for another person, especially when you connect with them well. You will get an inspirational download of something for them that will help them. And it's a great experience to have. So pick up the phone and call them and tell them, I just had this inspirational thought. And they may say, oh my gosh, I've really thought about that lately. That's sort of interesting that that happened. And it's very unique that you may have actually just given them that yellow to be able to say, I need to start looking at this. Or it may have been the green. This was the third time this showed up today. I need to do that. Okay. Thank you. Is there anything else to release? No. The activations are bigger than the releases. So this is all they're releasing on divine inspiration. What they want you to be able to do is to let go of trying to control it. And that's what they want to talk about next. Is they want to be able to talk about going back into it and activating what you can do to understand when you've gotten it. You've gotten it. And now that you have an understanding, because you can muscle test it out, then ask, what can I do now to say, is this something I'm supposed to do right now or not? So we're going to activate that you can make clear and decisive decisions. You make clear and decisive decisions that are in divine alignment. So activate that in yourself. Activate that I'm doing it, it's going clockwise. I make clear and decisive decisions that are in divine timing. They're in my divine timing, and they're in the best of all. This is the best for everyone. Everyone's world will be better because I make this divine decision. And I'm going to activate that I have a clear and decisive way of knowing what to do. And it's activating. Thank you. The next one is I trust in my divine timing, and I know that it's my divine timing, and it's down, or it's wait, or it's stop. I know that you can activate, the divine timing. You either see it, you sense it, you feel it, or you hear it. And then you can turn around and muscle test it. So you either sense it, you hear it, you feel it, or you know it. And recognize where your clairs are so you can do that. I trust in my divine timing and knowing what to do at the right time. I trust my inner knowing. Trusting your inner knowing. Trusting it. I trust my inspirational rings. Inspirational rings are something I'll be measuring on this new pilot program, and inspirational rings are above us. There's an infinite number of them in my perceptions, what I've been told from my White Dog Council. And in those infinite rings, that when we say, how many creative rings do we have? They're creative rings, and they are inspirational. They're there for you to be creative and inspired. So what we're going to stop and look at when I do those measurements is I'm going to stop and actually find out how many are you supposed to have right now. Remember when we did energy bodies? And we measured how many do I have right now? How many am I supposed to have right now? And then how can I increase those? And then we work to increase those. That's part of the thing on the do with the new recalibration is how many inspirational rings do I have right now? And then how many am I supposed to have? And then to start activating for 40 days to increase those. That is the objective. And it's a major part of this program. Just like having the maximum of your wealth bucket be prepared for whatever's going to come in, and the part of your joy bucket having the maximum come in, and your passion bucket, the maximum that can come in. The same thing on those things. We're going to try to build them to the highest level possible because every one of us have an upper limit. We have all got ourselves stuck at a certain point. When I read the book, and it's probably sitting right here, it usually is when I read the book on the upper limit, The Big Leap. If you haven't read it or listened to it, you should. It talks about we all have an upper limit, and it's not God's upper limit. That's ours. We put a maximum on what we can experience. In the emotion code chart, it's called overjoy. There's a maximum we have and a minimum we have. There's I will never get that low again, and I will never get that high again. And everything in my life will be between these two spots. Look how much space there is underneath it, and look how much space there is above it. It's infinite on both. The center of the earth, it's a long way. So we have this is only how low I will go, and this is only how high I will go. So on that upper limit part that we want to turn around, that we trust that we can build those inspiration rings to the maximum level possible. Now we want to protect. Thank you. Thank you. I protect and nurture my inspired ideas. So when you protect your nature and nurture your inspired ideas, that is recognizing not every inspired idea is to be enacted right now. There are inspired ideas that you have that are to come later. I have one of my sisters has a book. She had a book long before she had her home. And then this notebook, it was a 3-ring binder, and she had these little division holders in it. And each division holder was a room, and she ended up making multiple ones on. But it were all of the things that she wanted in the master bedroom, all the things she wanted in a child's bedroom. She didn't even have children. All of the things she wanted in her kitchen, all of the things she wanted in these things. She had this whole big thing. It was a notebook, and it was her treasured notebook. We would go places and do things, and she'd bring her notebook and would talk about her notebook. She would talk about it. Here's what it is, and here's what it looks like, and here's what it's going to be, and here's what I want. And you may not get everything exactly, but it could be this or better. So to protect and nurture your inspired ideas, hers was in a notebook. For you, where do you nurture and put your inspired ideas? Do you have one little notebook that you keep, or a handbook that you have that has them in it? Do you have them on an Excel sheet? Do you have them on a Word document? I have this place in my healing notebook deal that I have that has a place for ideas that I just write them down. Sometimes I can't read my writing when I get them. I always know that those came from a better place than my head, that they came from directly from God, because it's harder to read. But I have a place for those ideas that come through that happen. And I even mark, this one was for this person. This one was for this person. This one's for me. They're not, I'm a manifesting generator. Lots of my ideas are not for me, they're for others. And I trust that. So we activate and protect our nurture inspired ideas. Now we're going to activate magic. We want to activate the unicorn and the magic in each of you for your inspired ideas to start having the breadcrumbs to show up so you know what to do. We want your unicorn magic to show up so your inspired ideas can start coming true. They can start happening. You can start seeing them. They come with ease. They come with simplicity. They come with joy. They come with fun. They just start showing up. And all of a sudden, it's like you just know that's what to do. You had an experience where you planned a vacation, and it was the easiest vacation you ever planned. You've had experiences where you've gone somewhere, and everything about that experience just flowed so smoothly. Everything about it was magical. And you want to start using the word magical. They want you to use, this was magic. This was not weird. It was not woo. It was magic. And if you have a better word than magic, then use it. But be sure it's a very high vibe word, and muscle test how high vibe it is to make sure you're doing it. And check it, because you do weird's down lower than magic. So they want you say the magic's going to show up for my inspired ideas. The magic's going to show up when someone shares an inspired idea with me. So if I share an inspired idea with someone, they see the magic and they feel the magic. And if I have things that support them to do it, that's what happens. The next one is self-empowerment. We release powerlessness, and now we're going to activate empowerment. Empowerment to feel that you have the skills, the abilities, the knowledge. You have everything you need to go forth with this. And if you can't see them, sense them, hear them, or feel them, that you're empowered, that when they show up in your side of your energy field, that you're able to actually utilize them. The empowerment of it is helping each of you for whichever things that you have. So when you set out your new moon intentions, 8 to 10, something along that line, and you wrote out some things you wanted, which maybe finances were some of them. For some, it may be just to have a home. For some, it may be to have a surplus to be able to donate. For someone else, it may be to pay health insurance. For someone else, it may be just to provide for their family. For someone else, it may be the choice of purchasing a physical house versus apartment. Whatever the power is in the wealth part that helps you get to that section, it usually overlaps everything else, and it's giving you some kind of freedom. So as you look at the self-empowerment, to recognize the breadcrumbs that are coming forth to you so you can see them. They're going to come in many ways. Empowerment comes from anger and all of a sudden saying, oh my gosh, I am so angry. I have great contrast on this. This is not what I want. This is not how I want it to look. This is not how I want it to feel. This is not how I want it to be. Okay, I can either stay angry and stay mad and hold on to that trapped emotion we released, or I can go, I got great contrast on this. This is what I'm going to do to start and move forward on this. These are the kind of feelings I'm going to feel, and this is the way I'm going to respond. And we start giving ourselves some conditioning things that we do in our physical life to condition ourselves to move forward. Empowerment. The next one is embrace. They want you to embrace that your unique way of getting inspired ideas is totally yours. So, had the most wonderful call today with the client. And in that, they said they wanted her to do this, this, and this for her inspired ideas. And she was very quiet and said very, very solidly, I've always wanted to do that. I said I'm going to do that. And it was, you will feel the inspiration when you start doing it. And here were the three things that were choices. And as I got off the call, I stopped and recognized that that's not how I get inspired. My inspirations don't come through there. My inspirations come from a totally different place. My inspirations come when I cycle on my bike and I literally put my mind on the muscles in my body to make the muscles work at a certain rate. And my heart rate is at a certain rate. The cadence on my bike, how much it turns, is at a certain rate. There is a certain amount of my body posture and how I hold it. And I concentrate on my body working to its fullest capacity while I'm cycling. And I always have to be on a safe spot because I really don't want to have to think about cars or a lot of people. So for me, that's why I ride trails, biking trails. And I'm on my road bike and I can do that. And there's something about me physically working and getting my headspace in, staying at a cadence that's 80, keeping my cadence at 80, keeping my heart rate at 125, which for me is rather high. 125 is really high. So keeping my heart rate 125 to 130, keeping my cadence at that rate, and keeping my speed at 12 to 15 miles an hour. And I want to do that for 35 to 40 minutes. And I will come back, I get off my bike, I take my shower, and all of a sudden I am so motivated and inspired to do so many things. And if I would just go through and be able to process those things at that time, no telling how much I can function. If I go out and do landscaping in the yard and I literally go out and plant the plants and dig the weeds and pull the stuff, and all I do is concentrate on that process, I'm going to come back and I'm inspired. If I get on my rowing machine and row, and I just row, and I row hard, and I think about the form I'm holding in my body, and that's what I think about, the form. Am I holding my tummy in? Am I turning around and holding my legs at the right place? Am I holding my muscles? Am I pulling forth to the right spot on my body when I'm doing the rowing machine? And if I will concentrate on those things, when I get off of that machine, I will be inspired. It's when I go and I try and I do other stuff and I listen to an audiobook, which is fine. But if I will literally concentrate on what I'm doing with my body, when I get through, I'm inspired. That doesn't mean somebody else can't do the other, but they may get off the bike just by listening to the audiobook and become inspired. And they may take a shower and become inspired. What do you do that when you get finished doing it, you just got your inspirations, because it's unique to you and it's going to be totally different. So you may be the person who takes the shower. You may be the person, I love walking on the beach. I'm not near as inspired walking on the beach as I am swimming in the water. I am not inspired laying out in the sun. But if I get in the water, I'm going to get inspired. Yet some people I know can get inspired the other way. My niece can get inspired by just literally taking out her pen and paper and start writing. And she will get very, very inspired if she'll just stop and do it. Her house has to be clean when she does it. That's a good thing. So as you do that, what can you do to embrace what you do to activate your inspiration? Recognize it's unique. Just like each of us getting in the records and how we communicate with our guides is unique. It's also unique to turn around and say that. It's unique. The next thing is the creative part. They want you to be creative in what you're doing and to recognize it's okay. So do a creative art project. Do a creative walking. Do something that gets you to stop and look at being creative and doing it from a different angle. What do you do that you enjoy? You know, if someone likes to have for me, I have to clean up the house before I start doing something. Otherwise, I'll find a zillion reasons to stop and go do something. So for me, I always clean the house and then go do the things, and then I can get much more inspiration. Stop and recognize where and when and what it takes for you to get inspired. And when you don't get inspired. I do not get inspired if the TV is going. I don't. But some people do. I don't get inspired with music going, but some people do. I do not get inspired if there's a lot of sound around, unless it's water or the sound of leaves on the trees or something like that. That doesn't. But what do you have that gets you inspired? What really inspires you? Is there a smell that inspires you? I have on my desk an automated, one of these little automated things that makes smells go out. And the smell that I have go out on this is the smell that is in, I know I don't have children, but I have this person who's sort of like my kid. And in his house, he keeps this one scent in everything he does. That's the scent that's in there. And when that comes out, I feel very loved and I get grounded. Does smell help you get grounded? Do you smell cinnamon and remember? I smell cinnamon and I remember my grandmother. Do you have something? So stop and look at what you can do to get creative. That's what they have for us on activation. And next is, I'm going to send this to you where you'll have it in the morning, and it's your journaling stuff. And it is when you were inspired, and you may want to go through the questions and just stop and say them out loud. For me, when I cycle on my bike, I was inspired by the Creator and I knew it. And I felt empowered. I felt limitless. I felt like I knew all of the places where something could go wrong, and I all of a sudden knew how to fix them. And I could do that. I feel valued when. And when do you feel valued? What do you need to feel valued? And continue to write when I feel valued until you can write all the way your soul feels valued. I feel valued when a client sends a thank you note. I feel valued when a client sends a referral. I feel valued when someone appreciates something that I did for them. I feel valued. I feel valued when my house is cleaned because I know my house values the cleanliness of it. I feel valued when I have this inspiration to do something and then I start working on it and more breadcrumbs just start showing up. And then I could give you stories of that. And then another part on this one is that it says an example of when I trusted the universe had my back was this, and I had inspired ideas and I knew exactly what to do. And my inspired idea was this, and it felt like this. That's using a lot of the information that an example of when the universe had my back and I knew they did and I trusted it and I went forth with it is when I started working with a certain person doing marketing. And it was like, I knew it was that. I knew exactly what to do next. I knew who to trust. I knew how to trust it. And I totally let go of it. And I started allowing things to happen. It was a really good thing. So this one is, they're going to get all of these. And Then you will have a different one about when you feel frustrated or angry or bitter. When I'm waiting for this, when I'm waiting for my sign that it hadn't come. When was it a challenge when you had a hard time waiting for the sign? Talk about when it was and recognize what you were doing that may have been hindering you getting it. So for me, I get it. TV is a big hindrance for me. Commercials are a big hindrance for me. I get what's a big hindrance for me. You see the way the sky looks out here on this whole thing that you can see? There is your EFT tapping. And that is just for us. But you see how you can see the sky? This looks a great deal like it does in New Mexico at a spa I like to go to. And I could sit out every night until they made us leave the spa area and sit and lay in one of the chairs by there are 7 sacred pools of mineral water. And you can lay in them till 10 o'clock and then they close it. But you can lay out there till 10 o'clock and they're all warm. And it doesn't matter how cold it is out. You can lay in those pools and look and see above you. And it's in the middle of the desert in New Mexico. And this is exactly how the sky looks. This is completely how the sky looks. And I am so inspired every time I go there. And I never realized it till this moment, but many of you have seen this. Let me see if I can reach it. When I was at this retreat, I actually painted this when I was at a retreat there. Can you see? And it sort of looks like the sky. I just now realized that. This is my actual mask of my face. And my eyes are not open because when I close my eyes, I can see, and then all my inspiration comes from my third eye. We made the masks the first day we were there, and you had to have them ready with whatever you were going to decorate them with by the last day. I got up the last day in the morning and I still hadn't touched my mask because I didn't know what to do. And I went and I just said, okay, God, tell me what to do. And I'd been laying every night. Every night we would finish and I would go lay in the hot tubs. They're not tubs, the hot pools. They're pools of water, of natural springs of mineral water. And I would go lay and watch the stars. And it was April and it was pretty cool out in New Mexico at this point. And I didn't realize till today I had painted the stars till this very moment, because that was an inspiration for me to be able to do. So as you stop and think about it, what inspires you? What do you need to be inspired? And what can you do? And if you are stuck and not able to get there, then it's time to do some releases on it. It's time to stop and say, well, let's release what's preventing it, because there's something that's happened either in a past life or it's inherited or it's in this current life that's preventing you from experiencing the inspiration and from moving forward on it. And let's help each other go there. So with that, we are going to finalize this one, and I'll send out all this information tomorrow on the email. It's already written up. So let me find how to stop the recording.